Kyle, what are some of the similarities between your offense and the way that San Francisco runs the zone read, or differences that you've noticed?
I think they're more. I mean, I haven't studied them this year, but I look at them in the off season, and I think I would guess for the most part they base their stuff more off gap and power schemes. Our stuff's more based off outside and inside zone. I think both of us, the zone reads the switch up, but our base running game's outside inside zone.
Hey, Kyle, after the game, Robert had said that he thought Philly knew a lot of what was coming early on. Obviously you guys got things going late. What was your assessment of how they defended your passing game and took some things away?
I don't really look at it like that. I've been in games where it seems like you can't do anything. That guys are just on you and they're killing you, and you just really have no answers. But I definitely didn't feel like that versus Philly. You have 160 yards rushing in a half. You're doing some pretty good things. That's as many as, I don't know if it's the most I've ever had, but it's definitely up there with the most I've ever had. So we were happy with that. But we didn't make plays, which didn't get us in the end zone. I think we had a couple passes where it was pretty obvious they wanted to take away our play pass. You get two people out on a route on play pass, and when a team plays soft quarters, receivers are doubled. And when linebackers don't step up, receivers are quadrupled. So it doesn't help for your play pass, but it helps your run game. And I think that has to do with why we ran for 160 yards.
There's so much made, obviously, though, of Robert's relationship with you and with Mike. When he said something like that, did you feel like you wanted to kind of sit down and talk with him and kind of get on the same page, or is that something that we make a bigger deal of than you take?
No, you guys make a big deal of it, and it's understandably so. I totally understand that, but I try not to pay too much attention to quotes and stuff, because you really never know what someone meant and what they were trying to say, or whether they meant what they said. And what helped me was Robert did come in. I didn't ask him to. He came in and talked to me on Monday about it and tried to clear it up with me and tried to explain to me what he meant to say and what he was meaning. And once I heard him and talked to him, I was fine with it. I didn't take anything personally, and it made sense to me what he told me, and I had no problems with it.
When you study their tape, you're obviously seeing how other teams have defended their zone read. What can you learn comparing and contrasting how other teams have defended your zone read? Are there different ways and different things that you see?
You mean by watching the Niners? Yeah. Well, I haven't studied them at all this week. I just watched their defense. I'm not too concerned about their offense, but we study defense. It doesn't mean how we know what coverage is, what fronts take away a zone read. It's not. There's no secret. There's certain. You got to put people in certain spots, and you got to account for certain players or account for gaps. You know that if you know football, and you got to see what people are going to do and what fronts they're going to play and what coverages they're going to play. And when you see those fronts and coverages, you got to go to other stuff. And you do go to other stuff as a coach. And sometimes you succeed in the other stuff, and sometimes you don't. You always try to be good at everything, so no matter what a defense does, you can counteract that and put your players in a position to succeed. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you got to get better at stuff that you don't do as much, but you got to plan for everything. This game is about adjusting, and that's what you do week to week, play to play.
Santana said that he thought that Robert could take in better accountability for the interception play rather than putting on the receivers, but just say I or me sometimes. What do you think of his accountability and his leadership skills?
I got no problem with Roberts. I think he's been a great leader for us since we've been here. Really took us on a run last year, and guys, I think he turned into a leader last year. Missed a lot of the offseason, so he wasn't always out there in the huddle and everything, but he was always around, and guys knew he was the leader. I think he's done a good job. I know we're going through some adversity, and that tests everybody, tests all the coaches, all the players, not just him, but everybody else in the locker room. And it's a challenge, and it's something you get better or worse from. And I think Robert is going through all that right now, and I think it's part of the process into making him great. I think it's hard to be good at something or great at something if you've never been through this type of adversity. And I don't think there's a quarterback in the NFL, especially the good ones, that don't go through some tough times. And it's what you learn from it and make out of it that I think makes you who you are in the future.
Kyle, how big of a blow is it to the passing attack to lose Leonard Hankerson, and what did you guys like in Lance Lewis's game that had you sign him off the practice squad?
It's a huge blow. I mean, anytime you lose one of your better players, Hank's a guy we really rely on in certain situations, and somebody I felt strongly that he has been getting a lot better. I think he was good enough to help us a lot at the beginning of the year, but in these past 3 games, he's really gone to another level. And I was expecting him to have a big game versus Philly, and I was expecting him to finish this year having a big year, and it hurts. I was pretty disappointed for him. because he's put in a lot of work, and I know he wanted to get those numbers and to show everybody what he's capable of. And getting hurt, he obviously doesn't get a chance to do that, but he'll come back next year and he'll be healthy. But it's always tough when you lose a good player.
We saw Cam Newton have a really good rookie season. Then he seemed like he struggled last year. He's playing at a high level this year. Robert and Kaepernick both seem like they've dropped off a little bit this year. Is that just part of the growing pains? And after going through a year like that, do you think you see that third year payoff like with Newton?
Yeah, I think every situation is different. So, I can't totally compare to those situations. I think Robert's done a lot of good things this year too. I mean, we're actually a lot better in a lot of categories this year than we were last year. We're not winning the games, which is ultimately what we're judged on. We've turned the ball over a lot more, but he's been asked to do more. He's had to do a lot more. He's seen a lot more different looks than he saw last year, and I think that is part of the process. Some rookie quarterbacks get thrown in early in the first game of their rookie year, and a lot of people recommend not doing that because over the history, a lot of rookie quarterbacks really struggle their first year, and they go against a lot of stuff that they haven't seen, and they learn from those looks. And even though it's tough, it makes them better in year 2 and better in year 3. I think it's been a little bit backwards with us in that situation. I think Robert came out and had the best rookie year and maybe in NFL history. I mean, numbers-wise and stuff, and with the success he had. And, this year he's gotten some tougher looks. He's also missed a whole offseason, and he's been trying to get back into form, which I think he's right there. But the second year has been harder, and it's what you make out of it. Just you take a situation like this, you get better from it or worse. And I don't think Robert shied away from anything. I think he steps into each week and tries his hardest. And whether he plays good or bad, I think in the long run he gets better from each week.
Kyle, when you look at San Francisco on tape, what scares you the most about their defense, and where do you see Carlos on tape compared to when you guys had him here?
It's hard for me to tell you about our own players. I see him in training camp, but I don't see much of our defense after that. Carlos is a good player, and your first question about the Niners defense, almost everything. It's a very good defense. The best one we've gone against this year. Their front seven is as good as any front seven in football. They got safeties who fly around. Their corners are very good players. But I think with them it starts with their front seven. They can stop the run without safety support, even though their safeties are more than willing to support. But they can sit back there and they can play pass first and still make you not run the ball. So it's a grind with them. It's been a grind for every team that's played this year. We know we're into a challenge, and you got to be at your best when you play this team.
Difficulty or I guess for lack of a better word, awkwardness to be in the situation of potentially relying on Josh and Fred again after their roles were diminished and they sort of made their feelings about their reduced roles known?
I think it's only awkward if you just avoid the situation. Josh and Fred are two of my favorite guys that I coach, just as people. I like the guys a lot. I like being around them. They're good dudes, and they're fun to be around. I know last week was tough for them. Anytime a coach makes a decision not to use you, that's hard, and I understand that. Whether it's right decision or wrong decision, I respect that. That'd be hard if I got benched as a coach and they just said, no, Kyle, you're not going this week. So I'd be pretty down too. So I can understand being in their situation, but we all have a job to do. People have decisions to make, and whether it's right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not, I think those guys are man enough to deal with it. And it's not like we hide from them and don't talk to them. I deal with Josh every day. I deal with Fred every day. And I think those guys, especially with some of the injuries we had and the situations, I've been saying it all year with Fred, I think we're going to really need those guys to help us this week. And I don't doubt it at all that they won't do everything they can to help us.
Well, what have you seen out of Josh this week? Has he had any sort of resolve or an anger, anything that you've noticed?
Resolve or anger?
Yeah.
No.
Has what happened channeled itself in any way on the practice field?
No, not at all. Josh is the same with me every day. Good relationship with Josh and enjoy being around him.
How have you seen Fred respond to his situation and what you guys were asking of him in practice and elsewhere?
Fred just hasn't quit. He's known that it's definitely the year hasn't gone for him how he wanted it to. We went with the other guys in the situations, and he's still come out. He's done a lot more scout team reps than he ever has done in his career. Some guys can mope and stuff on scout team. Fred has worked harder on scout team than I've seen him work. He's tried to get better, even though it's not the situation he's wanted. It doesn't show on the field. He goes out there, he tries hard, he runs hard. He's tried to improve and get better in his game, not just for the team, but also for himself. And he hasn't wasted the last 6 weeks because he hasn't been playing. I think he's used it to try to improve in certain areas. And, and I had a strong feeling it was only a matter of time before his opportunity would come with us, and looks like he's got a good chance for that this week.
When you went into the season, did you anticipate maybe being able to use more of Fred and Jordan and Logan on the field together, or is it just too hard to have 4 tight ends active? Did you feel like that might have been an option by this point in the season?
Oh, yeah, you take in a training camp and you think of every possibility. You would love to use guys, and you're going to always play the best players. And, we let guys compete starting in training camp. We're really starting in OTAs and goes through training camp, and it goes every day in the practice field. And other guys, did better in certain areas. And, you always, once you're not a starter, you're not the second guy, the special teams becomes a huge factor too, and how the head coach decides the final roster on game day. So all that goes into account. I wish we had 4 tight ends up every week. I'd love to put in a 4 tight end package just to see what that would do to a defense. But then you do that, and then you might not have as many receivers up in the game, not because you don't want them up, but because you can't dress everybody that's on your team. So everything goes into the decision. You're always going to try to do what you think gives you the best chance to score, and then our head coach is going to decide what gives our team the best chance to put a roster together.
It seems like you guys start a drive at your own 1 at least once every game. I think you've had 9 drives inside your own 5. I think worst starting field position like a quarter century in the league. Some of the problems on special teams and where you guys have started drives, what type of problems does that present? I mean, early in games, do you find yourself going off your script more than you normally would?
No, I haven't noticed at all that we start back there. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I'm running out of plays backed up there. No, yeah, it's been unusual. I haven't been back there as much in my career. I didn't know that stat, but that makes sense, a quarter of a century. But it's not something that you really enjoy. But, if at least it works out, you get a 99-yard drive, and that's always more fun than an 80-yard drive. But it makes it a lot harder.
Special team just trying to help your guys' ranking then.
Yeah, that's what I think. They're not selfish. They're looking after us and giving us a chance to get more yards. That's it? All right, guys.